Have you ever seen the movie Holes before, like with Shia LaBeouf?
No.
Really?
No.
It's like actually pretty good. Like surprisingly, when did that movie come out? Holes with Shia
Is it a
LaBeouf.
scary movie?
No, it's not. It's like a kid's book, I think. Dang,
What?
2003. Fuck. I'm dying so quickly, Nikki. Okay.
I'm done.
Hello. Welcome to a brief gaze into the abyss. My name is Zach, and I am joined tonight by Nikki LaBeouf.
What?
I
No,
gave you Shia
no,
LaBeouf's. No, you don't want to be Nikki LaBeouf?
no, I don't. Does anybody?
Uh, he didn't just do the Holes movie. He did some other.
He did
What was it? He
Transformers,
did like a
right?
Nazi movie not too long ago that
Oh,
was
he was in.
decent.
He was in that Fury, which was a really good
Yeah,
movie.
that's right. That was World War
The
II.
the tank movie, right?
Yeah, that was yeah. So Nikki LaBeouf.
Okay.
Okay. For announcements tonight, we want you all to be aware that we are on YouTube. Be excited, it's 2019 and we just got on YouTube. So if you're hearing this and you're not on YouTube and you're like, the only thing that would make this better is if I could hear this on YouTube and just have one standard image be there, because we're currently not recording our beautiful faces, maybe sometime in the future. But if your preferred way to listen to podcasts is on YouTube, you can find us there. And of course, you can also find us on iTunes and all the other places. So please share, like, subscribe, all those words. But our main announcement is you can find us on YouTube, which is new. So that is pretty exciting. And then also make sure that you're following us on social media. So
Yeah.
yeah, so Briefcase Pod on Instagram. Um, Nikki, are you doing any other social media?
No, we had a Twitter, but I don't really know how to use the damn thing very well.
Yeah,
So
just
I
fucking
don't.
talk to us on Instagram or YouTube.
Yeah, Instagram is way better.
Like, how many ways do you guys really need to talk to us? Just you can email us.
Yeah.
Like, those are your three ways. You can phone.
Yes, yes, email.
Yeah,
We have gotten some emails,
yeah,
so
you can email
that's a good
us.
way. But we're on Reddit too. Does that count as something?
Yeah, hell yeah, it counts. You can also, if you're really picky, like email us and ask for one of our phone numbers, and whoever answers the email will give you someone else's phone number, and you can talk to us on the phone. So, like, any way you want to talk to us, we're like, Nikki, do you remember those? God, what were they? They were before our time, but they were like, it was like the Tinder before, like it was like phone messages. Do you like? Are
Well,
you aware of
oh,
that?
where people could just leave like a message and you can listen to
Yeah,
it
some. I
and
don't really fucking know how it
yeah.
works, but I assume it's like Tinder from the '90s. It seems very strange.
Yes.
Uh, y-
Where were we going with that?
that we're super easy to connect with, even if you want to leave weird voicemails on a 1990s dating service. You can talk to us, but please tell other people if you like this podcast. We will be so excited. Typically,
Yes.
we have our buddy Philip with us, but tonight he is MIA, so it's just going to be me and Nikki LaBeouf uh, covering our topic tonight. And I want you to know, Nikki, I really, first off, just to be totally transparent, I wrote this intro for Philip before he found out that he wouldn't be in. So I'm just going to use it for you. But I worked really hard on writing this intro to this topic. So you ready for this, Nikki?
Okay. Yeah, I'm
All right.
ready.
Hey, Nikki,
Yes.
go to hell. Boop, 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 boop. That is it. That is our topic for tonight. Tonight's topic is the gates of hell or the doorway to hell. I don't think we ever came to a
No, we
final agreement.
didn't.
Which do we like, Nikki?
I like the gates of hell.
I like the gates of hell too. So it's the gates of hell. And we already started. If you don't know, the Shia LaBeouf reference is to like a movie that Nikki didn't even see in 2003, Holes, which I really suggest to everyone because it was surprisingly good for being 16 years. God damn it! I'm so pissed that movie is so old.
16 years old. Oh my
That yeah,
god.
I know. You know what's weird? Sorry, we will get into the gates of hell, but on NPR today they were talking about the Simpsons, and you can cut this out, but it's their 30th uh season, and like there's
Just
like no point in my life, like really, that the Simpsons haven't been on the air. I think there's
yeah,
like I'm like 6 months older than the Simpsons, so maybe like those,
that's
but
crazy.
I know,
But
fuck.
I remember when I was in elementary school, they we there was some kind of like fair, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but they had like an auction item of Bart Simpson, like a sign of him or something like that. It was like a big thing, like everybody wanted that. Like that was in elementary school. Like it's an old show. And honestly, I can probably count on two hands how many episodes I've seen.
Yeah, same. That was like weirdly a show my mom never let me watch, and like by
Yeah, I
the
wasn't
time I
allowed to
was
watch it either.
by the time I was old enough to rebel against it, it was like not cool enough to like try for me to want to. So I was like,
Exactly.
oh, cool. But I've heard it's really good, so that was weird. Oh, but back to the gates of hell.
All right, so we're going to talk about the actual door to hell now?
Yeah, no,
All right.
we agreed, Nikki. These are gates. Gates, even though
The
honest
gates, even though they're holes.
yeah, honestly, it's just fucking holes. And I do
Really, really cool holes.
they are cool
Come on.
holes, but I did kind of think that this was like a kind of original topic when like I suggested it to us. I was like, oh, like obviously we'll get into it, but when I was doing some research just on YouTube, like I came across like one of the terrible like late 1990s early 2000s history channel documentaries. I don't did you
Hmm.
watch any of those, Nikki?
No.
Okay, well
Uh-uh.
there's one specifically on this topic, and it was like so bad, but I'm pretty sure that like when I was watching on YouTube, I was like, oh God, I definitely watched this as a child. And I was like, I want to talk about this when I'm old. And so that's definitely where this topic came from. And so I'm not original at
So
all.
that's why.
Yeah, a terrible man. Those documentaries are rough. Like they're like, oh man. Okay, sorry. Won't without further ado, Nikki, introduce our holes.
All right. So the first hole that we're going to talk about is called the Darvaza gas crater. So I guess it's not really a hole because it's just kind of like a pile of dirt lifted from the ground. Like, it's not really a hole. But anyway, so in 1971, a bunch of Soviet geologists went to the Karakum Desert in search of oil fields. When they found what they thought to be a substantial oil field, they began to drill. Unfortunately, instead of striking it big, they struck a cavernous pocket of natural gas. Which, and this is kind of a common occurrence, that instead, when this happens, when they're out trying to get oil and stuff like that, this happens a lot. And in this instance, like the entire site collapsed, like all their equipment and everything. So That wasn't the only problem though with it, besides like all their really super expensive equipment being like sucked into the ground. There was all this natural gas that was escaping, and like all the nearby wildlife was dying from the gas. Most of this gas was like methane, which I guess they say, because I don't know anything about this stuff, but it's not actually toxic itself. But what I guess what it does is it displaces the oxygen in the air, and then of course it makes it extremely difficult to breathe. And well, you're already in the desert, so I can understand why some of the animals wouldn't be making it. So what they decided to do is light it on fire, which at
Hell
first
yeah.
I thought was like absolutely insane because I don't know. I just why would you light it's like when you see those crazy videos of idiots on YouTube lighting things on fire, and they blow their hair off or whatever. But apparently this is
First off, Nikki, I don't appreciate you making jokes about people blowing their hair off. Rude.
Oh yes.
Secondly, I really connected with
very
these
insensitive
scientists.
bald people, I know.
I really connected with these scientists because if there was like a hole in the ground, I was like, what am I going to do with it? Like setting it on fire would probably be in top 5. Like if it was my job, like my boss comes up to me and is like, what are we going to do about this? Like I'd be like, set it on fire. So I'm glad that 1, you called them idiots, and 2, mentioned that they didn't have any hair.
Did I call them idiots? Did I call them idiots?
We'll listen to the playoff.
Maybe
I'm just being really sensitive.
I'm sure they're very smart.
Playback, not playoff.
Well, yeah, so I guess it's a very actually normal thing to do. You light it on fire and then it burns away the gas in a couple weeks. And this is something they do all the time when this kind of stuff happens. But now here we are, 48 years later, and it is still burning. And that's what's so cool. Like, seriously, if you're listening to this right now and you're not like driving somewhere or doing something where you can't like stop and look at something, take a break and Google Darvaza gas crater. It's Darvaza. It is super, super cool, especially if you look at the pictures at night. It really does look like the door to hell. Like, it's really, really neat. Not so great during the daytime. It just kind of looks like a couple little candles in there. But at night, it's like, whew, the whole thing is on fire, and it's really neat. A little bit about that hole. The crater itself is 230 feet across and 65 feet deep. If you look, I already said that. And that's about it. I mean, it's there's nothing really all that amazing about it other than the fact that it's on fire all the time and it still has not burned off. One thing I did read somewhere, I don't know if Zach, if you came across this, but people say that they'll see these like herds of spiders. Now, I'm not really sure why.
Hell yeah, Nikki! I'm so glad. I was waiting for you to stop to be like, the spiders!
Well, I don't know how anybody who got close enough to this herd of spiders to watch where it was going, because I certainly would not be anywhere near a herd of spiders. But anyway, I guess, right? So they say that they see these herds of spiders just go running into the flames and just they all die. That's pretty cool.
God, it's so cool. You can actually like when you like look on it, if you look for the spiders online, it's the same picture of this one spider, and it's just like in the dirt. So I'm like a little bit, not that I really want to see any animals die, but like, I mean, 1, they're spiders, and 2, like, just I don't know. I feel like that would be a pretty like hardcore video to see, just like a hurt. Is that the right
I
like
don't know.
grouping?
I don't
like
know.
You think they would have like a cooler like term, like a murder of crows?
They probably do have
like,
a cool term, like pugs. It's like a grundle of pugs.
Ooh, is that right?
I believe so.
I think
A grundle. It's just a fun word to say. Though I think I've heard it used in something else, but I'm not going to talk about that. Now on to the next hole.
Just so
Oh,
you
unless you have
know,
more to talk
Nikki,
about with that hole.
hell yeah, I do. I guess the official term is just a cluster, which
A
isn't as good
cluster?
as.
No, it's not
Yeah,
as good
that's
as
what Google
murder.
says. Yeah.
Mm.
All right. All right.
Uh,
On
I
to
like a
the
bird
next
actually a little
hole.
bit better. Yes, on to the next one. This one is slightly more interesting because it has a little bit of a kind of a, a mythology behind it. This is the
Yeah.
Kola Bore Hole.
Yeah. If
This
you could, like, the first one was the front hole. This is like the top secret back hole. This is where all the good stuff happens.
really.
You're welcome,
So the
Nikki.
legend
Continue.
goes, yeah, thanks, yeah. So legend goes that in 1989, Russian scientists drilled a hole over 9 miles deep somewhere in Siberia. At this depth, they broke through the Earth's crust and entered a deep cavity. The temperature they found was nearly 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and their equipment started to melt after just a few minutes. But before it did, they were able to get a recording of 17 minutes of an incredibly bone chilling sound, which we will now play for you.
Spooky.
Actually, you have heard it, right?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Okay.
I just did, Nikki. Don't ruin.
Right.
What are you talking about? We just listened to it together.
Yes, we did. uh, so that very same day that they made this recording, many of the scientists quit. But the ones that remained claimed to have seen a giant winged demon burst out from the hole while the words, "I have conquered," swirled around in the form of smoke in the air. That's pretty crazy stuff.
God, I fucking
The whole.
like. I do like mass spider suicide and like demons popping out of smoke like make me so happy. And like essentially, sorry, like spoiler alert, like these are basically just like two holes in the ground. Significant, one is significantly wider and one significantly deeper. But if we can just focus on mass spider suicide and like hell screams and random demons, we're gonna have a good time, everyone. So just like big picture. Don't get bogged down in the details on this one.
Well, speaking of those details, I'm gonna go into some of those. But yes, of course. So after this demon pops up out of the hole, they covered it, which that was pretty smart to do. I think I would do the same if I saw a demon. But yeah, so we'll have to get to some of the truth behind this legend here. So we'll start at the beginning, like we did with the legend. In 1989, Trinity Broadcasting Network ran a story called "Scientists Discover Hell." This is I believe it was a Christian like channel.
The
The
good old
story
Christians.
immediately came. Yeah, the story immediately came under scrutiny for many reasons. First of which was because there is no borehole in Siberia. The actual hole that they believe that they were talking about was the Kola Bore Hole, which is on the Kola Peninsula in Russia. And since I had no idea where the Kola Peninsula was, I looked it up, and it is like right up there next to Finland. Where the little dangly countries are. So,
It's
and
like
that's
literally as far away from Siberia that you can get
Yeah.
and still be in Russia.
Yeah, pretty much. Another thing that you have to kind of scrutinize when you're looking at that story is if the equipment could possibly have survived 2,000-degree temperatures and still get a and still get a recording. Not really sure about that. But so, where did the recording come from then? Well, first time that the recording went public was in 2002 on, I'm sure everybody has heard of, the famous radio show Coast to Coast with Art Bell. And included with the recording was a letter which read, I just recently began listening to your radio show and could not believe it when you talked about the sounds from hell tonight. My uncle had told me the story a couple of years ago, and I didn't believe him. Like one of your listeners who discounted the story as nothing more than just a religious newspaper fabricated account. The story about the digging, the hearing of the sounds from hell is very real. It did occur in Siberia. My uncle collected videos on the paranormal and supernatural. He passed away fairly recently, of course. He let me listen to one of the audio tapes that he had on the sounds from hell in Siberia, and I copied it. He received his copy from a friend who worked at the BBC. Attached is that sound from my uncle's tapes. So there you go. There's the where the sound recording came from. But you know, as cool as the sound actually is, most believe that the recording was just a digital creation, looping and processing screaming sounds with background noise. And there's actually like a debate on what movies they took the screams from, which is kind of pointless if you ask me. But I guess people do debate about it. Um, so let's actually take a look though at the real Kola Bore Hole, which actually is really kind of neat in itself, even though there might be not be like any kind of crazy mythology behind it. But um, in 1970, Russia began drilling a borehole on the Kola Peninsula. This was around the same time as the US started their own drilling operation called Project Mole Hole. Basically, you had the space race going on and also the whole race. So we were trying to see who could get to the moon first, and we could see who could get to the center of the Earth first. I think we kind of thought it was stupid eventually, and the U.S. just pulled out of it.
Yeah, yeah, they did.
I didn't even notice that. but Russia kept digging. Operations weren't concluded until 1992 when it simply became too hot and too difficult to drill anymore, reaching temperatures not of 2,000 degrees, but 356 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah, not quite the same. So, even if they had to stop
Yeah,
it
a little bit
a
different.
little bit. So when it was all done, when they stopped digging, they had reached 7.5 miles down through the ground. This is approximately a third of the way through the continental crust, at least in the Baltic area. That's like almost
So I
nothing.
was trying to
Go ahead. Mhm.
well, like it's I was trying to explain it to my wife, like how deep this hole was. Well, first of all, like the weird thing is, like you can look on it, and we'll post a picture on social media of the actual hole, the covered hole, and it's it's only like 9 inches wide, so it's like super small. But if you like think about it, that is deeper. Like I was watching a YouTube video. If you were to flip Mount Everest just like upside down, this hole that they were able to dig is deeper than Mount Everest would be going down. And it's obviously also deeper than like the Mariana Trench, like the deepest part of
Oh,
the ocean. So like it's fucking far
yeah.
down there. So I mean, it is like one, the Earth is fucking huge.
Yeah.
So like it is only like it's like
Yeah.
0.002.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that
yep.
right? I don't know.
0.002%
Yeah,
of the way to the center of the earth.
yeah. So like when you think about like that, it's like, oh, that's nothing. And like even when I'm like 7 miles deep, like I driven way further than 7 miles. Like I've ran like half marathon, so it's like, oh yeah, whatever. But like in real like terms, it's pretty fucking
Yeah,
deep.
that's very deep. Now, other than just getting like, a super deep hole, they actually discovered a lot of really cool stuff from this. Up until this time, scientists had believed that there was a transition from granite to basalt about 2 to 4 miles beneath the Earth's surface. But after drilling through, they never came across this transition. So this totally changed how they viewed seismic activity. And instead of the waves bouncing off of basalt, now they realized that it was bouncing off of the change in granite under different like types of pressure. So like the deeper they got, the more it became like almost plastic, like melted plastic. They also found water between the cracks of some of the rocks at really, really extreme depths, which up until then scientists believed couldn't exist. So that was kind of a cool thing to find out too. And one other discovery was the existence of 25 different species of plankton living at 7.5 miles beneath the Earth's surface. And that's like, think about it, 7.5 miles under, it's 250 degrees Fahrenheit. And this stuff is still, living at that depth.
Yeah. I think it's like really interesting to think of, and it's like something I didn't. It took me a while to of looking at stuff, but like really like plate tectonics wasn't really an accepted like theory until like the early to mid 60s, and they started digging this hole, the Soviets did, in like 1970. So like this is really only 7 years into like the scientific world believing in plate tectonics.
Hmm.
So like you said with basalt, like it's crazy what we don't know about like the Earth's crust, and like just
Yeah.
how important this like oh there can be water this deep, and like it 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 was like good on you Soviets. But I think that's an important piece of context when we're talking about,
Hmm.
because one of the things like one of the controversies, I don't know if we're going to get into it, is they're originally supposed to go even deeper,
Hmm.
um, 15 kilometers, right? I don't know what that is in miles. Sorry. They were supposed to go even deeper, but it was just like they expected it to be cooler than it
Hmm.
actually was. And like it would have like actually, it wouldn't have been like Nikki said before, it wouldn't have been like 200, 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, but it was hotter than they expected to be, and it would have like fucked up
Yeah.
their tools. So they're like, oh, like,
Yeah. Have you know of any other cool holes? I don't know. I haven't heard of any.
hell yeah. Know a lot of cool holes, Nikki. Um, Nikki, do you know which animal burrows the deepest other than man, based on one
uh,
YouTube video that I watched?
s- snakes? I don't know.
No, apparently it's the Nile crocodile, and they can burrow up to 39 feet deep.
What? Really?
Yeah, girl.
Good to know.
It was. I literally watched a video. I thought it would be cool. It was fine, but it was just. It was literally like, how deep is this hole that we're talking about? And it was 4 minutes long of him being like, "Oh, a grave is usually 6 feet deep." Which, and then he'd do like the conversion, and then he would be like, "Oh, this is the deepest an animal can dig. This is where people or governments bury nuclear waste. This is." That's how I knew that it was like if you turned Everest over. But
Oh.
so we can definitely link to that. I didn't like do that math myself, but it was. I mean, those two facts about the Nile crocodile and Everest were worth a 5 minute
Yes,
video.
very much so. No, actually, I thought the Everest thing was cool. I didn't know that. I hadn't heard that part.
You want to know some other fun facts about this hole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did you
Yeah, are
say
we?
you want to know, or do you
Yeah.
have any?
No, I have facts.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so at the maximum number of workers, so you can see like the facility, it's kind of broken down, where they dug this hole, and it's kind of like in ruins, but you can still take tours there. But at the height of production, there was 3,000 workers
What?
working, yeah, at one time on this hole.
Oh my god! How hard
Yeah,
is it to dig a hole?
yeah. This small, I mean, it's small and deep, but still, that's a ton.
I never would have guessed that. I would have probably at max. I would have put it at like 150.
Yeah, no, I was totally shocked by that. Um, One thing I read said that it was still the Guinness World Record for the deepest man-made hole, but then there's also this hole that's just called Z44 uh, Shavo, which is is basically it's the deepest hole for like extracting like petroleum, so oil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I might have come across that.
Yeah, so I don't
Hmm.
know what's the real distinction because they both seem like holes to me, but technically that other one's a little bit deeper. But there's no screaming demons. Um, but
Well, he wasn't screaming. It was the smoke that was talking to us.
so Nikki, I want you to, because we have this demon that pops up and the smoke that says, "I have conquered." Right? Is that what?
Right. Yep.
Right. Okay. Thus, I'm gonna extrapolate, even though we kind of dis. I don't, did we disprove it? I don't know. It's not true.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, but I want you to be the judge. I did some research. Um, if let's say poo poo on the science, this demon is real, and perhaps these Soviets released a malevolent spirit into the world. I want you to pick which of the years that you think these Soviets and which of the celebrities they may have released onto society. All right,
Which
so
is celebrities?
so basically I picked the year they started, so 1970. I saw who was born in 1970. I picked the year they reached the maximum depth, and then the year that they basically stopped drilling, because technically they completely shut down in 94, but like they were pretty much done in 92, and 92 had a
Yeah.
better celebrity. um, all right, so, Nikki, do you believe the Soviets released in 1970 Melania Trump? Dun, dun, dun. So that's option A. Don't go.
Okay.
Okay. So that's if in 1970, as soon as they broke ground, they released an evil spirit on us. Our second choice for maximum depth in 1989, also the name of one of her CDs, Taylor Swift. Dun dun dun. And
What's the
then
name of one of her CDs?
1989.
Oh, I don't know anything about her.
Oh man, she writes the
I know she
emotions
right. She.
of my heart.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, I mean that seems kind of like witchcraft to me. I don't know.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
All right, our third choice. If they relate, so that was the maximum depth in 1989, or did they release when they basically stopped drilling in 1992 upon the world Nick Jonas? Bum, bum, bum.
Nick Jonas.
So
Didn't
yeah,
he just?
of the Jonas
Didn't
brothers.
didn't he? Did he just marry Sansa from Game of Thrones? One of the Jonas
I
Brothers just
think that's
married her.
another. I think that's Joe.
I couldn't tell you. I don't even know how many Jonas Brothers there are.
There's 3 of
Oh,
them.
okay.
Yes.
That was in 92?
I,
Oh, wait a minute. He was born in 92.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
I'm a little bit too
Yeah, all
old for the Jonas Brothers. So.
Yeah. And technically, if anyone really wants to break it down, just so you know, I do 100% know that they actually opened or they started drilling in May of 1970 and Melania Trump was born in April. But I don't care because I just wanted to say that they released Melania Trump on us.
Well, so I don't know how to choose this. They're all pretty crappy.
Who has brought the most pain and discomfort?
Um, I think I would have to go with Taylor Swift, simply because the only time I've seen her was she cameoed in some movie that I saw, and I wanted to strangle her, but I don't remember what movie it was. So I'm gonna go with that.
I like it. And just so you know, it can't. I believe the internet told me she also dated Joe Jonas.
Oh.
So they could have, like, maybe they released Taylor Swift and then,
Ah.
like, an after, like, sometimes, like, you burp or you hiccup and then you have, like, a second, like, smaller one. Like, maybe Nick Jonas was, like, maybe Taylor Swift was, like, the bad one and then, like, it was an aftershock. These aren't the only we're mentioning these two because one specifically, the one burns forever, and that's super fucking cool. And this one obviously has the screaming tape, which unfortunately probably not true, but still, I mean, it's cool. It's the deepest man-made hole. There was discoveries about it. It's like right after they discovered plate tectonics, so it's cool. So like that's worthy, but there are other like all throughout the world there are locations where people have claimed like this is an entrance to hell and you can look at them, but I was going to say them, but when I was looking at them, like, I'm going to mispronounce all of these. So
Yeah, I probably mispronounced all mine too, but
I decided against it.
and I promise you our next topic will be a lot weirder. We will be going back into the super weird next time.
Yes. Next time we have something we do. I just remembered what we're planning to cover, Nikki. It will get significantly less hot, but also significantly weirder.
Yes.
So please tune in. We are so excited for that. Please, again, follow us on social media. You can email us at a briefgauge pod@gmail.com. Anything else, Nikki? What else am I missing?
It's not a briefcase.
Uh,
It's briefgaze into the abyss at gmail.com.
Is that right?
I don't know why I don't know why we did that, but make it really confusing.
Oh shit. All right.
Just go to
Well,
our Instagram. It's
yeah,
easier.
go to our Instagram. You can message us there. Nikki's posting. I did notice that you posted those cool comics. I like those. Those.
Yeah, they were pretty popular too.
Yeah, I liked it. I was like, oh, that's funny. Good job, Nikki. So you can see a clear distinction between Nikki's jokes that are actually funny and then things that I do that I think are funny that I don't think anyone else think are funny.
Aw,
So,
that's not true.
aw, little Zeebs.
But I am
Uh,
super, super excited about the next episode because, like, I feel like so far in this podcast, even though we've gotten into some weird stuff a little bit, I feel like you guys haven't truly gotten a good sense of how weird I am. Like, because everything we've kind of we've really gone into the mainstream view, and I kind of have to agree with the mainstream view most of the times on the subject so far.
Oh God,
But
are you gonna agree with the non-mainstream view on the next? Oh my God, I'm so excited, Nikki.
oh hell yeah! At least I think I haven't finished the book yet, so we'll see.
Okay, well, tune in next time to see if Nikki and I can stay friends. I'm sure
uh,
we will.
I'm sure we will.
All right. So we've said all the things other than believe in yourself.
Ah, yes. And holes? No, of course,
And
aliens.
oh, alien holes.
Alien
Believe in
holes.
alien holes. Ooh,
Love
ugh,
it.
ugh, love it. Hey.